Hello everyone, welcome to today's Novedge webinar, introducing the new Artlantis 2020. Artlantis 2020 introduces a palette of new features and subtle settings that further enhance the quality of renderings and reduces the calculation time. Stick around to discover how. Artlantis 2020 elevates your architecture renderings to new heights. Today's webinar presenter, Ildiko Szabo, is trained as an architect and has been a member of the Abvent team since 2001. Over the years, she has followed the evolution of Artlantis closely and has acquired vast experience in architectural visualization in general. Now let me show you where we have Artlantis 2020 on novedge.com. This is a product page, and Novedge is changing the way designers purchase 3D software, offering more choices, more freedom, best advice, faster service, and most importantly, no headaches. Check us out at novedge.com. And now I'm sharing Ildiko's screen so she can show you all about Artlantis 2020. Take it away, Ildiko.
Okay, and I'm ready to start.
All right.
Ready to start the presentation of Artlantis 2020 already, and welcome you to this presentation as well. So my presentation will be a kind of overview of the whole Artlantis, just reviewing the steps, the most important features of Artlantis in general, and of course I will highlight the novelties. So Artlantis is a standalone application, first of all, that needs a modeler as a companion that creates the 3D model. I'm jumping directly in the Artlantis interface, and this 3D model is imported into Artlantis, and we can set up in Artlantis nice presentations like still images, parallel views, animation, panoramas, and so forth. The interface, first of all, has a very important feature, which is the real-time preview window, that displays the scene in full radiosity. Above this preview window are the different inspectors belonging to 5 different types of functions, like setting shaders, materials, 3D objects, artificial lights, environmental lighting, and camera views. Each inspector has a list, a kind of drawer, that lists all the items belonging to that particular inspector. So in this case, we are in the inspector of cameras, and these thumbnails are about already saved camera views. So these are kind of visual helpers for me to orient myself easily in the project. So I switched to another camera view, and at the bottom side is the catalog that stores about 1,500 items altogether. That includes shaders to be mapped on different surfaces. That also includes the 3D grass, which was in this version 2020 was enhanced and has more feature, more possibilities to set to make it more lifelike, more realistic. And it was even completed, so now there are 10 different shaders featuring 3D grass. Okay, let me continue. So the same catalog stores different type of objects, vehicles, plants. So all these belong to the default library. So whenever you download the trial version of Artlantis, you have already access to the complete library set Artlantis 2020 offers to you. So you can try it out. During 30 days, this version is at your disposal with all its functions. You can save renderings, calculate them, test for if it's adapted to your needs. Let me continue and review a little bit the inspector and what the preview window can do for us. First of all, it's not just a preview, it's an interactive window. I'm doing a lot of things here. Now I'm navigating. I'm just holding down the mouse button. 3D mouse button is important because each button knows to rotate around different rotation centers the model, either the camera, either the click, the point, either we can zoom in, zoom out, and so forth. And at each moment when the mouse is released, the scene is refreshed in full radiosity in a view that is absolutely consistent with what we will have in the final rendering. So this is very important as a feedback. Of course, there is a switch you might notice also. So OpenGL, this is the OpenGL, what you see now while I'm navigating, and the radiosity scene when I'm releasing the mouse. This is an option. Would I like to freeze the whole scene in OpenGL to, I need only the geometry for certain things, or I would like to make a kind of combination, automatic combination. Whenever I'm moving the model, the switch to OpenGL is activated automatically and is released back to the standard radiosity calculation mode to show the final outlook of the scene. So that can be customized, of course, and even the OpenGL can be customized in the preferences of Artlantis. In the rest, the camera inspector lists items we already know because it's about the focal of the camera, but it's also a very architectural tool to strengthen the verticals if the third vanishing point starts to distort these verticals because of very wide focal. One click, we can make them verticals again. Each camera view can be customized in different ways. So Artlantis is a very it gives us a lot of flexibility to set up different presentation inside the same file. So such a setting to customize are the lights, either because they belong to environment, so it's about the sun, a heliodone, either because they are artificial lights or shaders which are emitting light. So each of them can be set active or not active for a scene, and this way we can set up presentations of different type. Background and foreground images, layers that are storing objects, so setting them visible or hiding them. We can make even combinations, variations for, just imagine furnishing an interior this way or that way. Use the layers of Artlantis to make your final choice. And additional settings are in this camera inspector. The most important was already listed. Let me continue and speak a little bit about the heliodone and open the inspector for the heliodone. And in this drawer, now the drawer, this list changes because it contains different type of suns, which can be each activated separately for a scene. This day sun can be duplicated easily, can be renamed, let me call it location, okay, right click. So with Artlantis, never hesitate with right clicks, many contextual menu will pop up. So the principle is always the same. I'm creating a complete identical copy first. I make it active in the preview, like this time way the sun now is, the new sun is activated, and then I start to make changes. Artlantis has 3 different sun types. Now the active one is a manual setting of the sun when I'm just changing the sun position manually, or even I can change in the preview if the sun icon appears in the preview. I can change at 45 degrees compared to the camera axis or compared to location. And when it's about location, I need to locate my model on a globe. I have a huge list of cities, but I can edit it, of course, if I wish to make it more complete, or just change the north. Okay. And then change the period of the day, of the year, and this will be an exact sun study, how the light will lit my future building in reality. So it's a very useful way to use this halogen. If I go back to the perspective camera inspector, this new sun will automatically appear in this little list of lights emitted by the environmental light, the so-called halogen, and of course I can change it at any moment. But let me show you a new way to generate light around our model. And this, I will duplicate the present camera view, the same as I did for the sun. I have a complete identical copy for the moment, for which I start to make changes. So, because this new lighting will be emitted by the background image, so I will apply an HDRI image. I will discard the sun and open the dialog for the 2D window, and choose a HDRI from my hard drive, which is a very special image since it will be rubbed all around the model, and in a moment it's applied, it already starts to cast light. It casts a kind of general lighting to my scene, and in the meantime I continue to have this nice picture in the background. But to extract most of the information of this background, I will check the enhanced background setting, which will allow me to differentiate the light emitted by this background based on the color and the brightness of each pixel. So this is the most sophisticated light model we can have for exterior scenes where the beautiful radiosity shadow appear, enriching very much the presentation. Good. Then I continue and speak about artificial lights. After speaking about outside lights, let's go inside the building, and I choose a new scene which is completely black for the moment. And because there are no lights at all in this interior and the sun is down, so it's a night time, so it's time to create new light sources. And to manipulate these light sources, first I need to open the 2D window. Here it is. I will little bit change the position, and as the blue axis appears in the preview, I can even start to manipulate this light in the preview as well, because this axis will detect the geometry and helps me to locate the position of 2D of a point in space. So this is nice about it. So I can work easily in these two views and get a closer result. So here is the direction toward this light lits. Let me grab it here. Okay, and drag a copy into the next light. Okay, I close the 2D window. My lights are here. I will select both light sources, and let's see what are the possibilities for this light in the inspector of artificial lights. First of all, I can set a power for the light, and this can be set in lumens. So let me add 1200 lumens. It's about a dining table, so we need a lot of light. The axis, it's okay, it's fine, I accept it. Maybe the color of the light should be added a bit warmer color, why not? And an IS profile can be added to simulate a realistic physical light emission by these lamps. Here I have multiple possibilities. There are some presets I can set for my lamp, or I can use a realistic IES. So lamp producers generally are happy to provide you for free downloading this specific IES file simulating the physical behaviors of an existing lamp that you can assign to an Artlantis light source, and you will have the same result as if it was that type of light adapted to your interior. As you see, the Artlantis engine will extract the information from this IES, even for the power and for the angle of the light, and will apply it to the artificial light. So, of course, being in Artlantis, things remain flexible, so I still can continue to stretch to change these values. But the most important is the possibility to apply realistic IES and the way how we can manipulate easily these artificial lights in both 2D and preview window as well. Briefly about artificial lights, that's all for the moment. Let me continue. Let me continue a little bit about 3D objects and highlight the object inspector that, of course, has its own list, which will contain this gentleman. I'm just browsing my catalog, and I'm working with a default library all the time. So this gentleman I'm dragging into the scene belongs also to the default library, which comes from the XYZ collection adapted to Artlantis catalog. First, as an important information. Next is that these objects can be easily manipulated in Artlantis. They can be change their position easily. You can rotate them. You can change their size. You can change their shader. So I'm just switching to the shader of this car. Change the coloring of the car. So it's very easy to manipulate these type of objects, and being stored on layers, it's easy to set them visible and not visible, as I already mentioned. So whenever you know that you will continue your work in Artlantis, I suggest to use Artlantis objects the most as you can. So whenever it's about furnishing an interior, furnishing an outside scene, enriching your scene, Artlantis media are at your disposal with all their settings. Let me show you a tool that helps us to distribute them easily. So as you saw, it's a kind of drag and drop I'm doing whenever I'm adding an object to the scene. But of course, there are multiple types of manipulating objects. And what if I would like to plant some bushes, for example, in this little courtyard in an easy way and rapidly? Then I show you two different ways to do that. The first plant is already added, and in the 2D window, top view, Here is my little courtyard, okay? With a simple Alt Shift, I create a spline along which my plant will be duplicated and evenly distributed. The same plant, here it is, with one click I can finish this operation, and the plants were multiplied. And even because they are plants, they were randomly rotated compared to each other just to avoid the repetition effect. So just imagine if it's about a street lamp, this won't happen, of course, because it has to follow a path that this time can be curved, can be any type of path. So this is one way to do that. The next way is when I would like to distribute randomly a selection of plants. So for this, I will activate the Populate tool. This is called the way that also offers me the spline and offers me the area or a territory. I can designate a territory where I would like to distribute. What I would like to distribute? A selection of plants. So I shall do this selection first in the media library. Let me choose this one, and this one. So 4 different plants. Where to distribute them? I draw this area. Artlantis already offers me a number of copies. I can add more, of course. And when all is fine, I click OK. And for each position, Artlantis will, I close the 2D window. Here are my plants. Just a bit slowness. Here they are. Very small plants were selected, okay, but they are appearing in this courtyard from belonging to this selection I already did. Okay. The next step is to speak about the materials and choose another scene. An interior where we have plenty of materials, shaders as Artlantis is calling them. Here it is. And switch to the shader inspector. The shader inspector highlights all materials I have in this scene. And of course, this list can be edited, can be changed, its distribution, its order, can be reduced. No, not this one. So I can even say to reduce the list for only those materials visible in my scene, and so forth. So I can, I have multiple possibilities. So I select a material in the preview, and the inspector will highlight the settings. I selected the parquet. So the parquet is based on image file because it has a pattern, it has a nice surface to be simulated with the help of an image file. And of course, it has the most common settings for such kind of surface. So I can set its shininess, reflection, bump, normal map, transparency, projection of the image file on the surface. So a lot of very common settings are here, which at the same time are very intelligent and are displayed in the preview. If I want to change this material, so let me go into the interface. I will choose a marble. Let's go for marble and change everything here. If I go for this marble, I simply drag and drop. I change the bump, whatever I want, and instantly the preview will be refreshed and the changes will appear If I would like to change anything to this shader for a later usage, or I would like to create new shader from scratch, I have even a shader editor in Artlantis. So such kind of media like objects and shaders can be customized, and new shaders can be created, new objects can be created. So you can enhance your library with your custom objects. Or
Ildiko, sorry, we can't hear you anymore. Your sound is not on. Maybe it's the microphone. Still can't hear you. Yes, we can't hear you. So probably, this is strange. This is very strange. Yeah, I know.
working.
Yeah, now you're back. Cool.
I'm back.
Yes.
Okay.
Phew, for a moment.
Okay, I turn it on and off again, so maybe that changed.
Yeah, that always seems to do the trick. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So this is the media store. What I'm just presenting you here, offering you different type of collections, different type of media, 3D objects, shaders, plants, cars, whatever, that you can always enlarge to see in a larger view how will they behave in a presentation, in a rendering, and download them if you wish, and they will be automatically installed and added to your offline catalog. So these are the different ways to enrich your library. First, there is a quite large default media Artlantis is offering by default. You can create your own shaders and object. This was the previous phrase about, you may not hear. And there is the library, the media store, I mean, you can reach through this card icon from inside of Artlantis. Okay, let me continue with materials. So I'm just continue selecting materials, change the coloring for this lamp shader, for example. If I would like to add an exact light, exact color for that I would like to define based on a raw collection, for example, then I'm welcome to do that. And this is a novelty in Artlantis 2020. You have access by default to these color collections of RAL that you can also complete. So if you have the additional collections of these color palettes, you can save CSV files, and through the preferences of Artlantis, you can add, and not only these type of collections, so even your collections can be added to the general color palette and assign it to shaders and so forth, to materials. So when the execution comes, you can give the code, and that color will be at the end. So this is another novelty of this version 2020. Good. And let me go for the real and the most important novelty of this version, which is called the portal. The portal is about avoiding the noise from your rendering, and at the same time to save a rendering time for yourself, and the possibility to use the enhanced background for interiors without too long calculation time. So let me highlight the way it works. First of all, I have a scene, an interior, which is lit by a window. Let me go to this little bedroom area in 2D just to highlight and to show you that where is the camera. It's looking toward this corner, and the window pane lighting this room is at the left-hand side, not visible in the scene. This is important because the portal is about enhancing the way the light enters the room. So I open the rendering parameters, and what I can see, the engine customization, all the settings are set to minimum values of 1. I would like to check the enhanced background. When the enhanced background is checked, it means that the whole sky dome emits light. And this light will enter, of course, the room in a way. Some of them, some rays will enter the room and produce additional rebounces and enrich very much the lighting, the scene, in fact. Okay. So whenever this enhanced background is activated, you may note that when the image was refreshed, it turns out to have a lot of noise in it. Whenever without the portal, I should push the different settings to a higher value to avoid the noise as much as possible. For example, when the sampling is set to maximum for lights, which was so far imperative to do that, it took a lot of time. So just rendering a full HD image with these settings, enhanced background checked, would take me around half an hour or something. But I would like to keep everything to minimum and to reduce the rendering time for minutes. And then I should use the portal. The portal turns active is linked to the enhanced background option, and it is designated for interiors only, so I turn it on. And when the image is refreshed, and now it's coming, you will see that even the preview will have less noise. Why? Because I already have a portal in the scene. So let's see where it is, this portal, and what is about. It's an object, first of all, the portal. I'm just selecting it. Here it is. I'm selecting it in the object inspector because the portal was already added to the scene. And here it is. It's a plan. This plan should be added outside of the scene, okay? And I will enlarge it to make it as large as the window pane. Okay, good. And it has a specific shader over it. It's a plan with no thickness at all. Let me go to the shader inspector. No, not this way. I go directly to the shader of the portal by clicking over the inspector. Okay, here it is, my shader belonging to the portal. Here it is, that's it. And at the bottom side of each shader, there is a little list of additional possibilities particular for the shader. Since this version appears a new checkbox, use as portal. This is the trick here, because this plan will tell the Artlantis engine where is the gate toward which to collect all the rays emitted by the sky dome to collect them, to make them enter the interior, to enhance the rendering itself. With all this, no change in the lighting of the interior will appear. It's just to avoid the noise, to get rid of the noise, and to enhance the quality of the rendering. Whenever you, let's go back to the object inspector, whenever you use this portal, this object portal is already added to the default library. Here is the object itself. It's in the collection for outside objects. So you can drag and drop it, this plan, and drag it over a window which allows the light to enter the interior. Or if you use prepare your own portal, here is in the basic shader inspector, the shader portal as well. So the shader portal is a transparent shader. It's something very transparent that is, you can even use different shaders and check at the bottom the checkbox use as portal. So the portal once again becomes a kind of gate, and let me show you some nice examples with portal. Here is a scene, a camera view without portal, and you may know that so much noise there is on the walls. For example, there is a pattern here which is not visible for the moment, but with a portal everything becomes clear and nice. I have a second example, this kitchen. Here certainly there is a window at the left hand side we cannot see, but the portal was added over this window pane just to define the gate through which the collected rays should enter this interior and enhance the quality of the rendering, and at the same time reducing the time for the rendering. So this is a very clever tool that knows to do two things at the same time, to enhance the rendering, reduce the noise, and spare time for the calculation. There is another tool still among the novelties, and still with the purpose to avoid the noise, which is called the denoiser, which is a filter actually. It's a 2D tool this time. So while the portal is a real 3D engine calculation, so that follows the light until complete absorption, the rebounces and so forth. So the light behavior is really followed up through the portal. Not here. Here is about a filter that should be activated. Here I'm back in the inspector of the rendering parameter dialog, and the denoiser tool also is something that should be activated. I did it, and the scene starts to be refreshed with the noise first of all. And when this refreshment is done, then you may notice a second refreshment, let's say, when the filter is applied, that washes away the image, the entire interface of the image. Because the denoiser works in the following way. It has two sliders. The first slider is about area to analyze, to be analyzed. Of course, the larger is this area, the longer time the refreshment takes, because it needs more time. And the intensity of washing this area and getting rid of the noise. Of course, it's less clever than the portal because it can wash away even some bumps you might want to keep. Therefore, even my example here I want to show you is, so this was the portal, and this is the denoiser example. So as you see, it's about clear geometry. It's not about bumpy surfaces, about materials, fabric that wrinkle is wrinkled. So that might be washed away as well. But in this case, the denoiser is an excellent tool to get rid of the noise, and once again to keep the engine calibration parameters at low settings and achieve the rendering in a very short time. Okay, let me show you some other two examples whilst we are still at this topic of the portal, and first of all of the portal, because this image was done with the help of the portal. So as you see, the portal was applied on the window pane that is behind the camera. It's a big window that goes to a terrace, and so the portal was applied over the entire surface. And also it was applied, there is a skylight here at the left hand side, so this is also a portal. So you can apply, even if you have multiple windows, you can put different portals over them. And you can notice the quality of the image, so the glass surfaces for these lamps, how nice they are, or the leather material, or the chair. So it's a really nice image. And I have a different camera view for the same image. Okay. Here is another camera view for the same image with using the portals. Okay, final things to show. And for this, I will open a different file. Don't save, okay. I will open a file that is called insertion. So once again, the site insertion, because the site insertion is a tool, a very architectural tool, and Artlantis is always doing something around it to make it better, to make it easier to use, and so forth. Since version 2019, it got a complete independent inspector. And this inspector allows us to build in automatisms to make it lighter, to make it easier to use at one hand side, and at the second hand side, it constrains us to follow the logic to do a proper site insertion, and that's good. So because we should always start by applying a background image. A background I take with my any digital device, whatever, an average JPEG, and when it's applied, the camera, the preview, and even the final size of the rendering will get the size and the proportions of this background image. I can even extract the information if I have the metadata of the image to create a heliodone that will cast light from the same direction when the photo was taken. So let me go next. You see a new net appears over the preview, just to define a kind of bounding box and of the existing building. And through this bounding box, I'm already positioning an XYZ coordinate system over the preview that I should do the same in the 2D window as well, and set the size correctly. And when it's done, automatically will start the calibration. I still can fine-tune, change the size, make the perspective lines, make them different, fine-tune the thing. And when all is okay, I click fine, and the site insertion is done. I need a foreground image because some elements of the background are completely cut. It's not nice. It would be better to use a foreground, but let me use the same background again. This average JPEG once again, and if it doesn't have transparency, then I can assign transparency to this right inside Artlantis. Because Artlantis has a edit alpha channel, a little editor that will open me a separate tool. So this editor is part of the default installation of Artlantis. So I have this image, and I can select colors of pixels, for example. I will just define some colors here. So, quickly. And you can note that it will select based on limits where different colors are changing. So the selection was very easily done, and it's quite precise with all this. But let me revert my image to show you a different way to do it based on lines. So there are multiple ways to do the selection of the transparent areas. And when I'm drawing lines, it means what I would like to keep in front. And as you can see, I'm really drawing randomly, roughly a line. And in the back, I would like to make all this transparent. Here it is. And the selection was almost properly done. So wherever the color changes, that will become a different color. Okay, that will get the transparency. So it's very easy to manipulate this. Or if I would like to, no, come back, undo, it was too much. Okay, if I want to unselect, for example, this car, I change the, and that's it. So I'm validating now my little foreground. Here it is with a car, with the rest of the elements. Of course, I have tool to paint, to select more precisely if I wish, but also it's a very fast and good tool to finish everything inside of Artlantis. So with this, I thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'm looking forward. I would be glad to answer to you.
Thank you, Ildiko. That was great. Beautiful, beautiful renderings. We're still waiting for questions. We'll leave the question tab open for another couple of minutes. Feel free to chime in, comment, ask away. In the meantime, I will take the screen back just so I can show everybody where they can find Artlantis 2020 on our website, novedge.com. And I really encourage everyone interested in the new Artlantis to download the free trial, because there's no better way to find out if it's the right tool for you. So we have free trial downloads. You can find them on the tab on top of the video. Please, take it away and let us know how it feels. Ildiko, I don't have any questions. The images were beautiful, the features impressive. I thank you for this beautiful demo, and I'm reminding everybody that I've been recording the presentation, so if you want to watch it again, just head on over to YouTube or Vimeo and look for Novedge. Thanks again for joining us today. Have a great rest of the day or evening. Bye bye,
Thank you
everybody.
for the invitation and have a nice day, you too.
Bye.
Bye bye.